Hey gents, to belt or not to belt? That is the question. So today we're talking about belts and also trousers that you can wear without belts, which to me is by far the more elegant way. But I get this question a lot and I want to talk about belts. So the first decision on the decision matrix is to belt or not to belt. And I believe if you have belt loops on your pants, even if they're custom, you should still wear a belt. I do that on occasion, but it looks like you forgot to put a belt on when you have belt loops and you're not wearing a belt. On the flip side of that, I think the default for me in the past couple of years has become don't have any belt loops at all. Go with side adjusters, side tabs, or just completely belt loop-less. I think it's a much more elegant look. I love wearing suspenders. So if you're wearing a dress shirt and some kind of trouser, I love putting on either a suspender and then you can put a jacket over top of that, or just wearing suspenders. I think it's a cool look. Or a lot of my pants just have the suspender buttons, but you wear them without a belt, and I think it looks dynamite. I think especially now, if you're dressing with nicer trousers, you're probably an outlier already. So the fact that you're not wearing a belt and you're wearing this more elegant look of a trouser with a side adjuster, I think it is the excellent sartorial choice and one that I'm a huge fan of. And now at least half of my trousers are side adjusters and just have no belt loops. And so I think that's the way to go if you're looking at new pants, new clothing. I think avoid the belt, and I think that's a great look. These are a good example of trousers that are tailored and they fit perfectly, but I still wear a belt because they look incomplete when you have belt loops and you don't have a belt on. And so then I'll try to wear this very dark brown belt because I think it helps to elevate the look a little bit. I also don't have these as a suit. These are just a trouser. And so if I am wearing a blazer, then it's not, truly breaking up the look. But I really like this kind of brown on brown look, with the tweed action and the leather. Until just a couple of years ago, there was always just the standard belt that you poke the, poked leather and you got the belt loop. And this came up and it was a very good discussion point on the Allen Edmonds belt video that I talked about. I think you cannot beat a really high quality leather belt like the Allen Edmonds ones that I talked about. This is an old one from Satchel and Page that I can tell you that this is going to last forever. It's a thick leather, it's beautiful, it's developing this patina. I had a friend of mine make this one for me, which is the same thing. Like, I've worn this to so many meetings and I have memories with the belt. But a couple of years ago, I did a video where I talked about the future of belts being this Ratchet style belt where you have a track in the belt and then the clip is what ends up being the adjuster. A huge one in this space is Anson belts. This one is Core, Trackline, I think Slide Belts is another one. And so many companies have popped up to do these Trackline belts. I think it's extremely interesting. Between the two, I love the idea of the slide mechanism belts. The micro adjustments, the fact that you don't have to worry about the leather wearing out or anything. And for the most part, I find them to be nicer quality than you were getting from like a Macy's or a JCPenney belt. Please stay away from the reversible ones. I talked about that in the Allen Edmonds video. My problem with the slide belts has usually been just how thick the mechanism is in order to do it. The belt clips are usually pretty big and cumbersome because they have to hide this little clasp mechanism in order to have the sliding belt, which is definitely the superior way to do a belt. This one is from Core. This is their titanium model, and this does solve part of the problem that I have with these belts is that titanium is so lightweight compared to like the stainless steel that's used in the Anson and some of the other metals that are used in these belts. So the titanium does address it, but it's still a little bit bulky when you're looking at the slide mechanism, especially compared to something like the dress versions of the Allen Edmonds belts that we looked at, or this, this one is even a little bit big, but it's still pretty relatively thin compared to what you're getting in the slide belts. I'd say my only other gripe with the Anson belts or the Core belts or the slide belts is the leather itself. And so I know they use full grain leather, and that's what I recommend, in the Allen Edmonds ones. You want something that's a really nice leather because it's gonna hold up really well and age well. And I know they're using full grain leather in these belts, but the way that they're put together, I guess it's part of the requirement of having the track in there. I just never find that I'm that impressed with the leather itself. And yes, I'm comparing a $110 Allen Edmonds belt made of their European leather, which is very nice, versus the leather you're getting on these slide belts. Hey guys, this is me from the future. After shooting that video, I was expressing that frustration about not having premium leathers in these belts to David, the founder of Anson Belts, when I was at the Menfluential conference, and he said, there's new belts literally hitting the site while we're here, and that is the Italian Premium Calfskin Collection, which is actually made in the USA by Anson. And this solves some of the stuff that I had already shot, like I was ready to put that video up, but this solves the thing, like this leather to me is almost indistinguishable from the Allen Edmonds belts that I have and have done videos on, but it has the Ratchet technology. And David made a great point that if you spend $200 to $300 on an alligator or crocodile belt, then it will wear out over time with the traditional peg versus having the micro adjustments that you get in these belts. And so it's actually a better idea to have a Ratchet belt in that style that won't wear out over time. Same thing with premium calf leathers, same thing with the Allen Edmonds ones. And so everything that I said before still applies to most of the other companies, but Anson's the first one that I've seen really try to go up market, and they also charge the premium for it. You're gonna pay over $100 for the calfskin and then $250 for the crocodile, but that's what you get if you want fine materials, and I think it's a nice little touch that these are made in the USA as well. And the other major benefit of these slide belts is they're typically a very big size, like a 50-inch waist, and then you cut them to your size. So even if you're a bigger guy, you can fit into most of the slide belts, and then if you are a smaller guy like me, you cut it based on the size that you want in here, whether it's 30-inch or 29-inch. You cut the leather, so you're gonna get this perfect fit when you have the slide mechanism in there, and then as you go throughout the day, everybody's bodies adjust, and you can tighten, these 1/4-inch adjustments, which is very nice. But you can get some really beautiful, high quality, full grain like leather belts. There's something about having a very nice leather belt, whether it's the Allen Edmonds ones or there's so many boutique makers that make really cool belts out there that I wish I could bring both of those worlds together, where I'm getting an Allen Edmonds quality leather with the track mechanism so that you can then have the benefits of doing the slide belt. So there you have it, gents. If you're looking for slide or track belts like this, I know Amazon is full of them, but it is better to go with a trusted brand. Anson Belts makes some really good ones, not just from my own experience, but you guys recommend them constantly as well. I've had these core trackline belts for quite a while, and I know that these belts are not gonna wear out. That's probably a flaw in the business model, but then again, I've seen collections where guys have like a dozen Anson buckles, and then on top of that, you can interchange the belts and everything. So the ability to accessorize those things is probably what will help them in the long run, because you're not gonna be replacing the belts that often.
There is a nice feature of these belts that as long as you're working with the same, 1 1/4 or 1.5 inch belt, you can interchange the buckles with the companies, so you can combine the best of both worlds. If you really like, the Anson belt leather, but you like the core buckle design, they are interchangeable as long as they are the same length, which is a nice feature.
So that mechanism is very cool. I do think it's worth investing in a very nice leather belt that'll basically never wear out. The belts that most guys are used to when they wear out on the holes are just not made of nice leather, but if you invest in a really nice leather belt, it's gonna last you for a long time. But overall, I think if you're moving forward and you're upgrading your wardrobe and your collection and you want to have a more sartorial eye to these things, just avoid belts entirely, especially in suits. So maybe for shorter guys, you want to be able to break it up a little bit, but I think it's way more elegant to have, a high-waisted trouser, no belt, and just a jacket. I think that looks dynamite. And so if you're ready to step into that a little bit more, try a side adjuster or a beltless trouser look. So there you have it, gents. If you have any recommendations on other belts that you enjoy, I'd love to hear down below. Maybe I'll do like a little bit of a belt roundup. I'd love to know about some boutique makers. I have a few made in the USA ones on my website, American by Choice. I'll link to that below so you can check it out. I'll link to Core and Anson so you can check those out as well. And then I'll also link to a video I did where I talked about the best, beltless trouser companies that you can go and get some of those, whether it was made to measure or right off the rack, so you can check those out too. As always, appreciate your comments. I'll talk to you down there, and you can also reach out at _Kavalier on Twitter and Instagram. Love to hear from you guys. Until next time, gents, this is the Kavalier.